And
a couple things going back up, so we are recording and live, but everything's just starting up.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Well, welcome in folks that are already in, and welcome in folks that are tuning in after the fact. Well, we got some great questions last time, and right before this, right before hopping onto this, we got some really good ones. So super excited to answer some of these and check in with y'all. So thanks for hopping in.
X Factor doesn't want to go.
X Factor's not going?
No, it's saying that count is like needs to be something. Why is it there's always something?
Always something. Just golf nerds trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
It's always a little tough.
Always.
Do you want to maybe text Philip and see what his thoughts are?
Hold up. Oh wait, no, that was. Sorry, it wasn't X Factor. It was. Facebook.
It was Jackson Wary.
It was Facebook that wasn't going.
Ah, Facebook's fine.
Yes.
Facebook's fine. It's okay. You know what's funny? On that, we'll do a rundown of each social media. So, Facebook is actually surprising how many friggin' mean people there are on Facebook. I thought it was like this family thing where like
everybody's nice.
Everybody's nice. It's not that way at all.
No.
Instagram's a little step above. Instagram and TikTok are about the same. Then YouTube, like the nicest people in the frickin' world. But it's super surprising to me how mean Facebook people are.
Facebook and sometimes TikTok too.
It's amazing. Yeah, TikTok every once in a while you get some like meanies, but yeah,
you get a couple jerks.
It's kind of interesting. But we'll still respond to everybody. It's posted on there to help folks. So hopefully our posts are helping people play better golf, hit better shots, do the whole bit. So, all right. So we're pretty much good to go. Heck with Facebook. We got X Factor rolling. That's what we want to get going.
On that, Ellis Scott just texted me and goes, "Rest in peace to Facebook."
Thank you, Ellis Scott. You're the best, Ellis Scott. All right. So what's lock and load number one there, J-Bone? What are we going to start with today?
Well, we're going to go back here. We're going to go to Joseph Cordova. I have
Joseph
been meaning
Cordova.
to get to this question for 2 weeks. I apologize, Joseph. We're going to get to it right now.
Joseph Cordova. Right. What's up, dude?
Question on guided practice number 3 from the app. When you load the anterior lead arm line, what is a good feel for that? Is it done by the force direction of the handle being away? I don't want to run my arm across, so is it a turn of the ribs to get the club away, followed by a chill lifting of the arm to round it off? I feel that after lifting it, if I leave my left arm there as I drop, that is what loads the posterior arm line. Am I on the right track or way off?
So, very short answer. Yes, you're absolutely on the right track. Beautiful. I love that. Longer answer. Number one, for folks that are on X Factor, what Joe is really referring to is there's a series of videos that are called or labeled guided practice. And so they're about 15 minutes long. I think the first one is how to work through the progressions, all 5 progressions, and it's me just talking through that and showcasing how to do it. The next one is guided practice number 2, which is really an understanding of spiral movement through the feet and the legs and the pelvis, the rib cage, like all things spiral line. And then number 3 guided practice is how to load and unload or manage the arm lines. So if we do this really simply, and we're looking at the humerus bone, which is really the uppermost arm bone, relative to the rib cage, relative to the scapula, that whole structure, okay, including the spine, all this stuff, all the way down to the elbow. When we describe the golf swing, oftentimes we're talking about this idea or this concept that the golf swing from a sequence standpoint is a proximal to distal movement, okay? So if I'm looking at the rib cage here, the spiral tissue, and I start to motor the spiral line in the immediate, okay, and I'll do this, let's see here. Say that I have a wall here, so this big, huge ruler will just like signify this wall. And I put my hand on this wall. If I just start to motor the spiral line, say my hand stays on this wall, it kind of glides up it just a bit, just because the spiral tissue line is pulling me in that direction. So if I'm right in here and I go, what arm line does that load? And first, like to define load, let's say we have a rubber band and I just elongate that rubber band line. That's loaded. It's tension. We're growing tension. So the line that I am loading right now is the posterior trail arm line. The lead arm, I would be loading the anterior lead arm line. See how all of this space gets elongated in my pec all the way through like the bicep, and in the posterior arm line, we're going the tricep all the way into the scap, all the tissue in my back. So I'm right in here. And that's swing start. So if I go, woo, this way, see how it's kind of a subtle look? Okay, but it's my rib cage starting to go posterior trail, anterior lead. Now if I kept turning, I would maintain that for a while until the arms eventually go ahead and fire off and away from the target. It's not up, it's away. So I'm going here, keeping that same arm line relationship. Now, as I'm firing the arms back, the handle goes directly back. That's where I'm going to start to drop the pelvis, and then I'll start to swivel the pelvis, and now I've traded. Notice how now the lead posterior arm line is loaded, and the trail anterior arm line is loaded. Well, what's the whole purpose of loading those arm lines? To unload those arm lines. And that's why when we see the players that we prefer the most, we'll see rhythm where there's this calming space in the middle of those two actions, right? I have an element of energy in the away swing, and I obviously want an element of energy through the hit and in the forward swing. In the middle of those, we're organizing, and it's softer in there because I'm trading from posterior trail to posterior lead. See how that club would float in here for a long time? So the whole look is here, there. See the rhythm of that? Here, there. So if we're hitting one, we'd go posterior trail for a long time. Handle goes at the camera. As I drop, then I'll swivel. Now I'm loaded in here and I could hit. So we'd go here, there. So see how long that golf club floats. But that's a great question, and hopefully clarifies some of that guided practice number 3, just in an understanding of how to load and unload or manage the arm lines in the golf swing. It's a great question, Joe.
All right.
Awesome Blossom.
Yes, sir. I'm going to, for those of you in the chat, I'm going to try and bounce in and out from old ones that we didn't get to.
Like one, and then
in
one,
the live
and then
chat,
one.
So
Nice.
bear with me.
Nice,
please.
nice, nice.
Start first one in chat. Nick O'Reilly.
What's up, Nick?
O'Reilly. Sorry if you've heard that a billion times. Hey guys.
Guaranteed he has.
Can you elaborate on the importance of lead arm angle, steep versus flat, and hand depth, and how that will impact the downswing sequence, impact, and exit position?
Okay, start the first part of that, lead arm angle. Say that again.
Steep versus, can you elaborate on the importance of lead arm angle, steep versus flat? So
Okay, yeah.
Here, yeah.
So I believe what we're saying, so steep would be this. So if we want to get anatomical, just have an element of precision. This is shoulder flexion, shoulder extension. Okay, so think of the arm as just riding up and down a latitude line. Whereas if we go adduction versus abduction, AB, AD, this is more of a flat arm line. Now, if there's a lean in one direction of like you want to err in a direction of either arm lift or arm across, in the backswing, I would definitely love to see players more over the plane or on top of the plane, steep, as you're saying. Is this Nick? Is that right? So Nick, I prefer to see players, if they err, once they've turned, that the lead arm lifts, and now I'm pretty steep here with this lead arm. So see how it's well over the plane? So the reason for that is this, like in movement, okay, this is a silly analogy, but I give this all the time. Let's say I'm like learning how to stick shift, okay? And I'm in first, I into second, and then the passenger that's teaching me goes, okay, shift into second. I'm already in second. So I have nowhere to go. How do I move, right? It'd be easier to be in first gear, Shift a second, meaning that I'm in one space, and I can move into another space. That's a good dance move, by the way.
That was nice.
So, here's an example of this. If I start in the heels in my address, like I'm heel loaded with pressure, where's my range of motion? I have all this space and I'm relatively balanced. Now I moved into the toes. What if I start in the toes? Where can I move? Into the heels. So point is if I have this too on top of the plane too steep because of excessive shoulder flexion, now where can I move the club? Well, I can easily move it in here as I'm moving my rib cage, my pelvis in the direction that I want. So you'll see a lot of players, and we get this comment all the time because of items like hand depth. Hand depth is massively, massively overrated. Massively. I mean, one of the greatest players ever was extremely steep. Jack Nicklaus was like, oh my gosh, up here, right? Tiger tended to be up here. When I saw him, like in my preferred, like his best, I think was like, I loved Butch's time, was really, really nice. I mean, you'd see a lot of what they try to do is they'd get the handle out here, and then at the top, I mean, Tiger had this handle up here is what he was trying to feel, right? Like loads of good in that. So this whole idea, I see this a lot, like, okay, here's my rump line, and then at the top, I want to get my hands on that rump line, and what do most people do? They just excessively run this across. This is like how to get stuck 101. If I just take this and run it, where's that trail arm go? See how the trail elbow is in my posterior space now? What am I supposed to do with it from here? Right? I can't swing the club forward anymore, so where does it have to go? Out and around, right? But if I go turn, 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 and I have, you know, enough of this flexion state, yeah, of course. Does the lead arm want to adduct a little bit as it's lifting? Sure. But see how this arm is still anterior? Like if I'm here, see how you can clearly see that trail arm from face on? Now, if I went excessive adduction, all of a sudden that trail arm gets trapped back behind me. Can't see it, stuck 101. So we're somewhere in here. So that now, from there, if I went good pelvis and I start to turn in here, the arms can go ahead and swing across. Zero stuck, the club head can be back there, but the handle's still out in front of me. So if I just kept turning in here, hello and good morning, super friggin' easy to manage that hit. So, I get it, like, is there a point where, yeah, you want it to be deep enough? Sure, but it's always fine to err too on top of the plane. If I went, all right, the arms are up in front, if I went massive spiral, see how deep that handle gets? But it's still quite.
Oh, we're reaching deep back. We're going early July. Holy cow, there's some that didn't get
July time?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Gabriel.
Iglesias?
That would be nice. Little
Fluffy?
Throw a little
It's one of my
music
faves.
on.
Gabriel, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in and asking the question.
Hi, Riley. Wishing the elite team and family all the best. Background to the question. I'm super recovering flipper, jumper, vertical plane, torque driver of the golf ball. As I transition to a more rotary swing, I'm making spectacular progress with my AOA down golf shot, but I'm struggling with managing forces through the release with a positive AOA driver. I play a high tee ball, 7-degree forgiving driver with 6 up, upper 170 ball. Driver's the worst club in the bag, spraying all over the course. Burning question is about trail arm hit and release.
Okay.
But he has a strong lead hand, weak trail butterfly grip. I'm willing to change grip for different shots, no issue. Could you describe the type of trail arm extension pressure on the shaft through the grip when straightening the trail elbow through the hit? Is there a lead pull or trail push on the grip for you? In other words, in the release or hit phase, can you explain how the trail elbow to wrist and fingers unload pressure into the shaft at the grip in the elite golf swing for strong and weak grip?
Done?
Yes.
Perfect. So great. Actually, love the question because it's very detailed and I get it. So one of the worst feelings in hitting is where you'll feel this elbow almost hyperextend through the strike, and big time pronate with this right hand, and the club just ends up going wham. And so we get like this kind of a feel through the hip, right? And I think, Gabriel, that's what you're describing there with like the elbow extension and like, I see you like through that description as we've got, especially with driver, way too much lateral in here. And a lot of this will be the pelvis driving up and forward too much. This caves back under, so the only way to get it to the hit is to lower this lead arm to try to go ahead and square the club. But as soon as I do that, what's this right arm dynamic gonna be? So I get in there. So like target view, we're gonna see that. We're like, see where the trail arm is now? As I'm in this space, lead arm lowers, right elbow starts to extend because it's working over the top of that right arm. And now I get that type of a release. So one, injury potential goes way up in the arms, like through the moon. And two, we've got like bottom out, low point, face, like can hit it all over the face, and the face is all over the place, so it's gonna be tough to control the golf ball with that. So with driver, I think it's easy to start to kind of get into our preferences with like iron play, wedge play, because it's easy to get the golf club over here, and now it's like I'm just gonna turn this into the strike, and that's a fine way to play. Now, what I think would be great for you with driver, let me grab my driver really quick just so that the shapes make sense. Jackson, you got any jokes up your sleeve that are PG?
Why are chickens funny?
Why are they funny?
Because.
That's great filler. We'll work on that a little bit, but yeah. Great job. All right, so with driver, that was a great joke, Jackson. Now I can't focus. What was the question? No. All right, it seems like every single time I talk about this, so I'm sorry for the redundancy here, but this is important. The shape of the shaft is important to look at here. Every single golf club that you own has an angle in the shaft that's out and down. So down is perpendicular to the ground, out is parallel to the ground. It's right there. We don't have one that's shaped like this. So this is the tallest shaft that we have, or I have. It's my 60-degree wedge. That's the longest shaft that I have. So driver definitely needs to be swung more on this out vector. It needs to go away from me in this space. So with dog, if I go backswing, transition, and I get the golf club in here, just check out the shape of the right arm, like where it's at. What I would like you to sense is that the right elbow is more or less a pivot point right here. So if I went pivot and this arm did this, and as I'm doing that, this trail hand can go from extension to flexion, but it's more this shape. See how now I have this like reverse bow. The delivery is right in here, so the golf club's right in here. Instead of being in this shape, I would be, boom, that shape. So it almost looks like I'm the general shape of the unload of the golf club through the hit with driver. Now, and I'll get back to that, you can still feel elements of that all the way through the bag. And the reason that I want this, again, is look, like the club's in this shape, it's a super long club, so we need more out vector. If I go this shape in here to try to get the golf club deep, I have to now lower the arm, so see where the club starts to go, and the right arm now starts to pass over and I get this shape. So look at the dynamic of the hit. Look at where the handle's going through the hit. Now this is pretty excessive, but that's a rough day on the golf course. Anterior trail, get rid of this. See how that the energy just shoots out and around me this way. Okay, now if I'm doing that, this is the hit, this is the unload. If I turn with that, boom, see how stable that looks through the hit. But the big deal is like, look, with driver, we need to get rid of energy like early. But it needs to be in the right vector. Which shape, which direction of hit am I swinging it in? It's more in an out vector. That also goes back into body. So if I've got this driver and I'm swinging it at fairly high rates of speed out this way, well, my body has to support that. So my pelvis, my rib cage, as I'm rotating, needs to stay away from this space so that I can shoot this energy out. And that's the sequence. We're in here, so the hit is this. See the pelvis, see the ribs. I'm away from that golf ball, so now I can get rid of this at the same time, boom, and that becomes the hit, and all the way up into finish. So you could do this in two-piece, boom, right in here. Now pelvis, ribs, and the unload. See where it's pulling me? And see the unload out. It's out here, this way. But the body is supportive of that. Boom, it's this look. See that shape. But look how stable the face is. Instead of whoop, that way. That's a great question, Gabriel, and a super deep dive. So hopefully that like kind of quicker explanation of that makes sense when it comes to just like, all right, where am I sending energy with that particular shaped tool? Good question.
Dylan.
I got clubs everywhere. What up, Dylan?
I've noticed that a lot of top players that are strong rotators tend to supinate their lead foot / step away from the ball through impact with driver. Should I be actively trying to do this?
No.
Next question.
So the reason that that happens, because yeah, it is a really, really cool look. If you watch Patrick Reed, think of him as you will, but Patrick Reed does a ton of this in his lead foot. So the reason this happens is, again, kind of what we just talked about with driver, based on the energy direction. Like if you're the target, like I'm sending energy out this way. So I've got to create the room needed for that. So this is when we're talking like the trail pivot. My rib cage, the pelvis, the knees, this right shoulder, not out and around in here, because now I have to pull that down and into me. But if I'm back in here and I start to move these lead side joints away from the golf ball and it pulls me in here, number one, like what will happen is there's the supination state of the lead foot. Supination again is a combination of inversion. Inversion of the foot is simply this. See how I'm taking the arch of my foot and pulling it up. Eversion is this way, so you'll feel pressure on the instep and try to shove your arch to the ground. I hate that in both, right? So we're never trying to like go here, like most unathletic looking thing ever, one. Okay, so if I go inversion, I'm right in here. And then if I also have internal rotation of the femur, I'm gonna get supination of the foot. So it's internal rotation of femur plus inversion is what creates supination. Okay, so from target side, if I'm dropped in and I go boom right in here with the pelvis, I've got that internal state of the femur along with inversion. And as I keep turning this away, the pressure, see how the pressure's on the very back of the heel. Okay, like when you watch Brooks Koepka finish, that's where his pressure is. Now, Brooks is a big old beefy dude like me, so we don't really see that like boom, that blast out where that foot comes back out of there and actually like elevates off like you see out of, I think like JT does quite a bit of that. Again, Patrick Reed does quite a bit of that. The reason that you see like JT do this is because he's very, very much an arm, like excessive shoulder flexion to shoulder extension to get the golf club going up and back down. So when he goes up, he'll stay pretty dropped in. And then from here, as the club goes down, he's working up and out of there. And so as he jumps out of there, what happens to that lead foot? He'll go there and it elevates and comes back off just because of how much like vertical pressure, like he jumps massively through the hit. But he also has a golf swing that the shape of the club looks more this way. So if I have the golf club swinging here, I'm gonna wanna probably get out of there and jump out of there. Compared to somebody that moves the club over here, I'm gonna wanna turn on it like Koepka does. So again, one of the things that I'll say over and over again, even though there is such a thing as vertical force or ground reaction force, we can measure those things, quantitative stuff. There's not too many players that I see that are going, yeah, I'm actively trying to jump through impact. And myself personally, in 15 years of coaching full time, there's 2 players that I've ever told to jump, ever in my life and career coaching. So it's not something that is often, in my opinion, something that you need to actively do to try to elevate and jump out of there, because as soon as players jump, typically what we're seeing is like high levels of glute max activation, big time spine extension as well. And now all of a sudden that just shuts off your ability to turn. So as soon as you stop turning, you lose the ability to control the face with the chest. So the only way that we square it is with the arms and hands, and now we flash the face all over everywhere. Okay, so something to be wary of. And again, not something that I think that most players need to do to try to like actively like, you know, push or shift that foot or elevate the feet because they're trying to actively jump. Good question though, very good question.
There's a second part to that I didn't see. It was just a comment.
Uh-huh.
This is actually along another question that I was going to ask here in a minute. So,
great.
Also, could you explain proper weight transfer with the driver? Specifically, when should everything start moving up, back, and away in the swing?
Okay, so first off, there's a difference between weight transfer and pressure shift. Okay, so weight transfer means that I take the weight of my body and I'm actively trying to laterally slug this thing side to side. So let's say that I'm trying to get my pelvis to shove, right? This is weight transfer. This is weight transfer. Pressure shift is more like, let's say that I have like these super narrow columns right now, like my feet are close together. So if I feel pressure, I could go pressure into the right, pressure into the left. See how like small this is? It's like hardly noticeable. But if I'm on a pressure mat right now, I've got like 90, 10, boom, 90, 10. Compared to weight shift, all of a sudden I look just whacked out, right? Now in golf swing, we have wider columns, but if I still go pressure, 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 I'm like 90, 10 right now. This is crazy amounts of pressure shift, but it doesn't look ridiculous. Okay, compared to weight shift, like this is weight. So I know that sounds kind of funny, but I just want to make sure that in your mind it's like, okay, well, if I can go pressure here, this is lateral pressure, but all I'm trying to do is increase the pressure down a leg line, down a leg line. See how this isn't crazy in here. This looks like I'm still in there, like I'm ready to rock. Okay, now that's from face on, kind of looking lateral away from target or towards target. If I'm in here, I can hinge, and now the pressure trace I'd be more into the toes or the balls of the feet. Now, if I just go, boom, all I'm trying to do is just drop my pelvis, drop my booty just a bit in this direction here. Now I can shift pressure into the heels. But if I try, this again is like, okay, well, I want to stay away from it. Ooh, did I pressure shift? Yeah, the reading, I would see a pressure shift, but it's how we're doing that. So when you're looking at spiral tissue line, the spiral line goes from right hip, okay, and there's a mirror image of this on the left hip. So right hip goes up across my abdomen, across and under my, over my pec, through my pec, under the armpit. And now we'll go up through the scap, across my neck, and then up and attach into my right side of my skull next to my spine. So when we're looking at how that moves, especially in the forward swing, okay, what I just described is like the backswing spiral line for a right-handed player. So if I take, and that's why we see like some of these neck tilts right in some of these players, like it starts right in here. If I elongate that portion of the spiral line in the neck, see how it gets elongated, that tissue line is loaded. Look at where the eye line goes, it stays on the target line here. And then I would just keep pressuring that, and that's what influences the rib cage. And now eventually starts to pull on the pelvis, but look at my skull here. Now, if I go the other way, so if I drop, now I swivel, so I'm bouncing into the opposing spiral tissue line. See how pelvic swivel from here moves me more into right bend. Now I've moved, like, see how my skull is even responsive to this? Because now it's the spiral line coming up into the left side of my skull, down the spine, across, over the scap, under the armpit, and diagonal across here. So I've bounced spiral tissue lines. So I'm here, swivel, and I go this way. Now see how I've traded into the opposing spiral line, and that's why we talk about the spiral tissue line pulling you up, back, and away. Because if you're the target, and I'm in here ready to hit, and I start to go ahead and swivel the pelvis, one, see how it's trail, hip, pivot. The lead hip is pulling away from the golf ball and eventually working even away from the target. And now just that action, look what happens to the lat compared to the lead humerus. So it's starting to engage the spiral tissue line. Now if I'm pulling on this sucker that way, look at where that pulls me. Up, back, meaning away from the golf ball, and then eventually away from the target. So the whole look is in here, in there. And something to really take a look at that I think would be a good way to practice this from a spacing standpoint is if you have a chair, and ideally we'd have one that's a little bit taller so it's up almost in belt line level. But see how I'm not quite touching this chair? But if I pull this spiral line away, see how nothing touches or invades this chair? If I drop and swivel, I'm even further away. Now as I pull that spiral line away, see how I just stay away from that chair the whole time. So this is all space that I'm not to invade. Away, drop away, swivel away, pull away the spiral line. See how it's like constantly pulling me away from the golf ball? And again, the whole point of that is so that now, as I get ready to hit, I've got the room, so as I'm pulling away from this sucker, where can that golf club go? Boom, out. And that's the hit. Compared to, if I'm invading this space, where do I have to pull the golf club? Back into me. Okay, and that's the difference between centripetal and centrifugal forces. So, very good question. Does that answer the next one as well that you had on the docket?
Kinda, yeah.
Kinda?
That
Okay.
one was about pressure, lateral shifts.
Sure. Great question. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense when it comes to both lateral and shifts, both like kind of north-south, like into the golf ball or away from the golf ball when it comes to pressure. Great question.
All right, Alex Benham. Good evening here from the UK.
What's up? I just finished up with a student in the UK right before this. That was awesome. What's up, Britain?
Really, she kind of touched on this a little bit. Really struggling with my arms initiating my backswing, getting me in odd positions. What would be a good feeling for taking the clip back? Thanks in advance.
So, all right. This is why spirals are so cool. So if I'm right in here and I go spiral tissue line in the backswing, that means that this lat is pulling up, back, and away, just like we discussed in the forward swing. So if I go here with the spirals, boom. Look at how tall the shoulder axis is in reference to the hip axis. So I'm super, super steep in here. Now I'm not saying that we just clunk this down. This is not spiral movement, okay? So here to here, lateral in its orientation, right? So I'm just gonna move this armpit up this spiral line. So that pulls me away, and my dome moves into my right side as a right-handed player. Now, why is that important when it comes to like swing plane? Well, if I'm here and I'm not gonna do anything to the arms. No lifting, nothing. I'm just gonna go spiral, 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 spiral. See where the plane of this ruler is? If I just held onto it here and then leverage the club, see how tall the club is right now. And I'm not trying to get the right elbow on top of the left and do anything that's like contrived to try to make this happen. Okay, but if my elbows are level right now to my shoulders, and I move the shoulders because of the rib cage, the shoulder axis moves because of the rib cage. See how my elbows are level with the shoulder axis still. This structure is still the same. So if I leverage the club, where's that golf club? It's up on top of the plane. Now, if the lead arm lifts, that's what helps to plane the club. It's not the right arm that lifts, it's the lead arm that lifts. And as that's happening, I'm going to continue to turn and I'll drop. Now I'm to the top. If I swivel the pelvis, now I go from lead lateral bend to trail lateral bend. Where does that club go? So when you're looking at just swing start, as you're describing, I would love you to sense that, hey, I'm going to really educate myself on like where that spiral tissue line is moving and the arms. When I say arms, I'm talking exclusively about the humerus bones. Like this is the cutoff of the arms to hands. Because these two bones in here, the radius and the ulnar, this is hand action. Pronation, supination stuff. Okay, so this movement in here can absolutely move the golf club around. This is all hand action from elbow all the way down into the fingertips. So spiral, 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 spiral. In the hands, you could leverage the golf club up, but see where that club is in space? So I'm going to go spiral, leverage. Now I could keep spiraling. See how that keeps that golf club on the same plane? Drop and hit, and now throw some really, really quality shapes when it comes to the geometry, the shape, the force direction of the golf club. So I do maybe some little two-piecers that way, again, just to like specify on this. Okay, spiral, hands. Now to keep the club going on the same plane, see that's the spirals that are kicking that up there? I'd slowly keep kicking, shape, and hit. Hopefully that makes sense. That's a really good question. Part of the reason why we like the spiral line so much. Moves the golf club in the space that it's designed. Kicking.
Kicking it up. I like
Kicking, no screaming.
Kicking. That was a great movie, Kicking and Screaming.
Great movie.
Wow, that was throwback.
Yeah, man.
Let's see here.
Great, got plenty of time.
Andre Jean.
Andre.
Thanks. Had the best ball striking and driving round of my life this weekend.
That's awesome, buddy. Great stuff. Great stuff.
I did have an issue with my wedge shots. Kept blading them over the green. Any ideas why when my irons are dialed?
Yep. Okay. So again, iron play to wedge play. Think of shaft, the shape of it. This is 7-iron, this is sand wedge. Okay? So you can absolutely send energy down. And I think the thing that a lot of players have some difficulties with is they get really, really scared of down because of their interpretation of downward. Downward is not from the arms. The arms, it's not what I'm saying, that we're just automatically lowering here. This is, again, shoulder flexion, or excuse me, shoulder extension to lower this. So we're not doing that. The intention is downward because of the pelvis and the rib cage. So right now, my pelvis is right underneath my ribs. So perpendicular, my transverse plane through my ribs is right towards the TV right in front of me here. Well, that's not what I want to hit. I want to hit that. So obviously when we start, we're a little bit more downward. But in this transition, when you're up in here starting to work it away, then it's drop pelvis so that your transverse plane points downward more. So when I'm saying that we're hitting out, it's out of the rib cage. See this? This is out of the rib cage. So for the club, if this stays constant, like I'm out of the rib cage, where does my rib cage have to point in order for that out to be down? There. So now from here I could shoot it out and I can go get that golf ball. Now, that's number one. So I can get the shape of the club. See how I'm in here? So now I can go ahead and deliver the golf club like out of my chest, but it's in this downward trajectory. Along with that, we need a low point to be reasonable enough. Okay, so if I've gone backswing and I'm going in here and I go down, there's my bottom out. So this will be fun all day, right? Hitting it 9 feet fat. So I need to get my rib cage pointing in the direction of where I want the bottom out to be. So as I'm dropping in here to get transverse plane pointing down more, where do I need my chest to point? So now if I hit out of my chest, where am I at? Okay, so I'd love you to really sense, and you can do like still, there's plenty of this that we can throw. Okay, that general shape is fine, but with wedge, I mean, look at how tall that thing is. So if I just go back that way, I mean, that golf ball is launched super low because of the dynamic of the pelvis and rib cage. And you'll also see, like, I don't care at all if that golf club gets pitched over the top of it. I'm here, there. So I'll just hit this like squeeze, flat, little bitty cut. If it gets a little out of bounds, could I get that golf club in here a little bit? Sure, but it's the same engine. But see how like down and through it, you can see with the intention of my chest, I'm looking to hit here. And dude, stuff it in the frickin' ground. Again, not because we're going this way with it, it's because where's my chest pointing? So if I hit out of the chest now, that's the hit. Still super stable. Where's my low point? Right in there. That's wedge play. Final piece with that, if you throw too much energy in the chest, again, especially in the through swing, these spiral lines pull on the pelvis. So if I go ham hock here, I'm going to have earlier extension. So what does that mean? If I'm going ham hock here and I'm going that way, see my trunk now? Now I can hit out all day and I'm still going to thin it. So with wedges, we're going softer energy in general so that I can keep my pelvis in here. So that pelvis stays dropped in. There's the chest. There's the hit. So see, I'm still dropped into this position so my chest can motor through. But the energy in a wedge is substantially, like ridiculously lower than speed or energy in your spirals for driver. Like that's the big athletic difference between the spectrum of clubs, driver versus sand wedge or lob wedge. It's substantially lower here and substantially higher here. Okay, so let's play with that, and please, please, please let us know how that those concepts like take hold in your next practice session or round. All right, all right. What up, Dean? Dean from where?
Oh, I was just saying this was a question from last week.
Oh, Dean from last week.
He's back to the future?
He's from last week.
He's from last week.
It's a cool town.
Is the sternum ahead of the pelvis center? Is the sternum ahead of the pelvis center at impact or only in transition? And if the latter, when do the two switch locations?
Yeah, great question. So I did. Okay, let's go about this. So we'll start with this. It always shifts. Okay, in my preference. This isn't every single player on earth that's worth a darn. Okay. In our preference here, the centers, they shift in that transitionary space. Like, see when I do this? Like, there's a shift already. Whoop, I'm off of it. Okay, now as I go up in here and then I go, now they shifted again. See that? Wah. Okay, so there's P5. All right, now, if you go, I'm gonna go kind of lower energy in here and just kind of pull, like, turn the chest, I can stay in that position through the hit. Okay, so what would that be good for? Probably wedges, more angle attack, more low point forward, blah, blah, blah. The other thing is like when I go here, trade. So I because of the swivel, that's what makes the sacrum move, that's what makes the center of mass of my pelvis go that way, as the sternum is, or the rib cage is floating forward. Okay, so I have this look in my trunk. Now, with low energies, boom. So the pelvis can stay in here and I just rock in here, boom, boom. So I can stay in here. If I go higher energies, driver, again, what does the spiral line look like? So I've gone in here, swivel, I'm kind of looking like that. Now, as I go spiral line, that means that I'm going to throw more bend in here just because from my left side of my skull, I'm going to pull that in a way that now continues to work down, down over my spine, over the scap, and now down in through here. So as I keep going this way, see how that all pulls me into this kind of a look. So this lateral bend, actually, where does it look like my head goes? See how it moves it away? And this spiral tissue line, I think I showed this, it actually goes this way down here. So I'm going that way all the way through the hip. So as this pulls me, it pulls on this hip complex as well. So where does this hip go now? So you can see where my center of mass is here to here, they bounce back again. But it's not because I'm trying to like, okay, I've switched them, now I'll just shove this back forward. Like, no, that's not the move. It's from here, swivel, there's my dome, there's the spiral tissue line, boom, all the way up into finish. So extension does happen. And the center of mass of the pelvis, especially with higher energy shots, does end up working towards the target more than the rib cage does. Well, and again, like where does the spiral line pull? It pulls me up, back, away from the golf ball, and away from the target. So as it's pulling me this way, the right hip gets pulled forward. So that's why we see that happen, especially in longer golf clubs. And if you want to hit it higher, the tendency is we need more energy in the spirals. So we end up extending earlier because the spiral line is pulling on the right hip, compared to a lower flighted shot, lower energy. I want to keep this over here, and I'm going to go here so I can stay in there. So wedges, what do we want? Low launch, high spin. So that's not this. With driver, we want high launch, low spin. That is this. So it depends on the energy in the spiral what your centers are going to look like. Okay, hopefully that makes sense, but it's not because we're trying to shove a center somewhere just randomly because. It's because of the amount of energy in the same exact system, same exact mapping that affects the looks of driver versus wedge or 7-iron or punch 7-iron or high launch 4-iron. We modify a little bit because of energies, and the look changes because of that. Woo-hoo. Woo-woo. Yeah, woo-woo.
Just reading the question.
Nice.
Make sure we're good. They're not a repeatable answer.
Repeatable one, yeah.
Justin from last week as well. We got two guys from last week.
Nice, nice.
How is it last week? Regarding woo-woo, I almost pulled the club down after finishing the away swing. How do you structure the woo in the forward swing?
Okay. So woo number one, ribs, ribs, and there's a little bit of load in here. So see the ribs, there's woo number one. Now, I'm gonna start chilling as I continue to turn and drop. Where's the handle go? See how it elevates? Lead arm lifts a little bit. I keep spiraling in the same away direction. Now this is gonna stay as I elevate it in here as I swivel pelvis. So I'm not letting that lower. All I'm doing is swiveling the pelvis. So I'm loading up this posterior lead arm line correctly. And then from here, as I go ribs and arm line, there's the hit. So notice there's never a time where we're trying to lower. I see a lot of players who will go here, and then now they go pelvic swivel and they let the golf club fall all the way down here. So we've got spiral, keep spiraling, drop, swivel. At what point did that handle ever lower? It didn't. Okay, so from down the line, spiral, keep spiraling, drop, swivel, hit. See where that's coming from. So now, where does the hit go? It's out of my chest more. It's not down. We don't need shoulder extension to lower that sucker down for most people. Most people have excessive amounts of shoulder extension to lower it down, and that's why they have to extend the pelvis out of there, so they rise this to give themselves half a chance to hit it okay. So big deal here is it's not about getting in here and then swivel and let this get down here. It's more up here, drop, swivel. See how loaded? Now I can go spiral and hit across. That was nice. You shank it like that. Why do you shank? Invasion of space. So when I try to spiral, I'm out here, throws the club away. Such an easy fix. Spiral, up, drop, swivel, stay away, fire across, and we're right back in there. So kind of glad that happened. Because the point is ooh, you shanked it. No. You don't freak out about misses. You need to be able to diagnose. The only reason that we shank it is because you invade as you're shooting out, and now the golf club's too far away from you, excessive heel. So super easy mod. It's the same umbrella of movement. Just make sure that when you're turning and moving, you're staying away from it because you're looking to shoot the energy out. As always, it's out away from you to some degree. Okay, great question. Great question. No more arm pull.
No more arm
No
pull.
more lowering the arms. You don't need that BS.
That's why my driver is garbage.
AOA is down 7.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
When I got fit for it, fitter was like, we got to work on that, brother. You're like 5 down right now. I'm like, yeah.
Just a little excessive.
Just a little.
Just a little.
All right.
1 or 2's not bad.
Niles.
What's up, Niles?
I was messing with a trail side rib crunch, like flexing the obliques, as a power move in the downswing. Got a ton of new speed, but can't organize the club, stabilize the face. Pull hooks.
Yep.
Emoji.
Okay, so map is off a bit. You're right, but also it's like you're saying, it just doesn't feel quite right at the start. So you've got these 2 floating ribs down here, homie. What was this cat's name?
Niles.
What up, Niles? So got iliac crest, which is the very top portion of your pelvis, and then you got your lowermost floating rib, and they're really close together, okay? So it's tough to feel mine because I got a little tire going on up in here.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of sad.
Well, mine are there.
Yeah, but I'm working on it. I'm on a diet. Okay, so if I go L-spine bend, so I'm trying to crunch these obliques, see how all this space shrinks. So now what you get is you get into lateral bend, and the golf club can get into like a shallowed out position, but from here you're gonna shove the pelvis up and there goes the face. So what I would love to see is if we're turned back in here, little drop. Now, the swivel act of the pelvis and the rib cage moving in here is really, really important. And so speaking of rib cage, we just did a video that we kind of touched on this, I think, like what truly shallows the club. It's a YouTube video. Ribs you have 3 different types of ribs. You have the floating ribs down here that we just kind of alluded to, but who kind of cares about these really? They don't really serve a purpose for this conversation. The lower ribs, which are the ribs that you can touch. So most people, when they think of, oh, my ribs, they can touch these. And then the upper ribs are inside like under my pecs, under the clavicle, under the scapula. So it's tough to like find these guys. You can kind of go in the armpit and kind of like squeeze in there and you're like, ooh, that doesn't feel very good, but you can feel them upper ribs. So the upper ribs, again, are designed like an accordion. Okay, so these ribs, if they expand, these ribs clunk together. But notice this kind of an action. If I move this way, this is like uppermost spiral right in here. Woo! Notice that I'm in left bend, but which direction did my center of mass of my ribs move? I'm in left bend, but I moved right. If I go the opposite way, in here, notice again, these ribs expand. These ribs just respond by clunking together. Their spacing shrinks, these space apart. Okay, so I've moved left with the center of mass of my ribs, but I'm in trail bend. So we're accomplishing the same thing, but 1, in a healthier manner. 2, we got bottom out control. Okay, so if I do this, I'm in trouble because my bottom out's gonna be back here unless I shove the pelvis up, or if I lower this lead arm and run it up here, but now what's the hit? I got nothing. So your AOA can go up, which you're hitting up on it, so now we have a dynamic where the ball launch is higher because of that and it doesn't spin as much. And it's, in a way, kind of easier to draw it that way. Excuse me. If I go here and then I go boom, because look at where the handle goes. It goes out here and there goes the club face. So now it's like, woo, big old high bomb draw potentially. But 1, I can roll hook it that way. If I roll hook it enough, because I'm excessive there, then now I'm going to try to hold it off, and now I got block cuts, and now we're in a world of hurt because you can't manage the hit in the direction of the golf ball. So instead, if we're going uppermost ribs, spiral line, pull, drop, still in left bend. Now I'm going to go boom. There's the pelvis, and now the uppermost rib cage is pulling me through here as I'm unloading it. Boom, look at the shape of me now. So I don't have all this like clunk in here where I'm trying to like, okay, squeeze these obliques down in this manner, because now I'm just gonna shove the pelvis forward and now hopes and dreams. I could go lead bend, ooh, trail bend. Ooh, there's the trail bend, and now I can hit. See that look. So now it's these ribs that are pulling me up and through. See, I don't have, like, this relationship is still nice, rather than like clunk, throw. Please God, hopefully I guessed right at the bottom. We just don't need to guess. And at the end of the day, dude, there is no speed difference in either pattern. Like you look at DeChambeau, or somebody like that that has pretty excessive swing speed, that is a pretty big extender of the pelvis through the hip, compared to a guy like Minwoo Lee, Oshke, all those guys that are more turn and burners, Brooks Koepka, DJ, like there's tons of bombers that are this. Okay, so you don't have to jump or extend to create speed. It's just a response mechanism most often to what I'm trying to do in the club, most often. I know not in this case because you're going, I'm throwing lateral and then the club's responsive to that. Just be careful with that because injury riddled and it's just harder to control low point and club face through the strike. So it's just, you know, warning sign. So let's go into laterals like in a more appropriate, healthier way that allows you to control low point and face stability at a higher level. Great question, though. Great question.
We got one good one we can end on here.
Nice.
It's from Griffin.
What up, Griff?
It's great because it relates to X Factor. What type of video do you feel is more beneficial to submit for analysis? The best swing of a session where we feel we did what we wanted, or a bad swing with the ingrained pattern we want to change?
Both. If you do that, send both. Send both. And just explain what you're sensing in and you could just say, this is, I mean, obviously we'll see the ball, right? But like, ooh, this one feels grody, this one feels good. Okay, great, that's cool. You can submit both onto the community page. And we'll take a look at each one and we'll be able to give you a better analysis because of that. So feel free to send both. Great question.
Sweet, that was quick enough.
That was very quick. Okay, awesome. Guys, that was great. Thank you so much for checking in. Great Q&A today. Again, just please continue to ask questions like you're doing. Hopefully these answers are helping you tremendously with your golf game and the ability to hit better shots. We really appreciate you checking in with us and asking all the great questions. Till next week, flushers inbound, thumpers only, baby. Talk to you guys soon.
Peace.
Peace.